Welcome back to Not So Grand Garage. Today we're out in the driveway working on the flatbed again, and it is time to get the air conditioning working again. About 2 years ago, I replaced everything on this AC system. Motorcraft compressor, all new hoses, evap core, condenser, everything. And it worked great for a long time, but I ran into a problem with this hose over here. Now this hose here is a new one I just put on, and it's wrong. The one I had on here originally when I went to replace it, because while I was over here working on the electrical stuff, put my hand on one of these lines and it started leaking like crazy. So I went to get a new one, and they no longer listed it available for this truck. So come to find out, that line was never designed for this truck. As you can tell, this contraption over here, it's got a muffler on the line and everything else. How it has to route these lines, it puts a hard kink in the rubber. And that's part of why it failed in the first place. So I tracked down the right line for it. We're gonna rip all this off. I'm gonna send that one back because, yeah, it doesn't work. We're gonna put the right one on it, evac the system, or vacuum the system down. It's already empty. And recharge it, get it working again. So stick around. First up, this line has to go. So it's pretty simple. Compression nut here, there's a compression nut over there on the dryer, and a 10 mil bolt on the back of the compressor and this block right here. So take this 10 mil bolt out, and well, it's 10mm head. So take the bolt out and this block will come off the back of the compressor. There's 2 O-rings on the compressor itself, and disconnect these compression fittings. We'll pull this hose assembly out and get the right one put in place. I'll also give you the part number for the right one in case you're looking for one for a serpentine belt IDI that had factory air conditioning. So here's the line out of the way. As you can tell, it's got 1, 2 muffler canisters. You can see how it was kinking the line right here from how it had to be installed. But yeah, kind of an odd layout. And come to find out, they spec this for the 4.9 and the 5.8 gas engines. Not the 7.3. The 7.3 is not even in the spec list anymore for it. So I'm not sure why it said that part number would work, but it doesn't. So I ended up getting one. Here's your part number. It's a 56389. It is for a 9293, so OBS truck, which will also have the serpentine belt set up on it, and it has the same condenser, same evap core, and same positioning for all that stuff. They don't offer a manifold type hose assembly for a 1990 truck. It's supposed to have a block on the back of the compressor that the hoses will thread onto, so it's individual lines, but I can't find that block anywhere. So I'm going to use the one off of the 92-93 model, and it should fit just fine. So yeah, let's get at it. I'm going to go on and take this air filter off, get it out of the way so you can kind of see what's going on. And that way you get a better view. So back to the compressor here, I'm going to go on and replace these 2 O-rings back here, and we'll get the new line put in place. Got our new O-rings put in on the back side of the compressor. So we'll get that line assembly out of the bag and start laying it out and see how it's going to fit. So now that we've got new O-rings on things, I'm going to take a little bit of this PAG oil, this PAG 100, doesn't really matter. I'm going to lubricate all the O-rings on the surfaces before we start putting everything in place. That way we don't take a chance on pinching the O-rings or doing anything weird, and it'll help them seal up a little bit better right off the bat. It's a good idea. It's a good idea anytime you're replacing O-rings on something to lubricate them. It makes them go in place easier, and it's a lot less likely that they'll snag when things are getting tightened down. You end up cutting an O-ring, and then you'll end up with a leak. So lubricate your O-rings when you replace them. So there's an O-ring on this end, there's an O-ring on that side over there as well. So I'm going to replace them because they came in the kit, and we'll lubricate them up and bolt everything in place. I'm gonna snug this compressor bolt up by hand. I'm gonna leave it a little loose so it doesn't pinch. It's got a little bit of play in it. But as you can see now, this, instead of being all bunched up over here, can turn and go right to here where it's supposed to. A nice smooth arch on the hose, nothing kinked or anything like that. That's a lot better design, a lot better fitment than the one I had. And this line here goes up, hooks into those clamps on the firewall over to the dryer like it was before. I'm going to take this O-ring off here. And like I said, the package came with a new one. So, new O-ring. Lubricate this O-ring up just a little bit and slide it onto our tube and make sure it pushes all the way back where it's supposed to. Now I'll go on and take this cover off and bolt this connection up, then we'll go over there. Now, I'm going to leave this loose until I get everything lined up where it's going to go. Then I'll come back around and snug up the bolt on the back of the compressor and both of these fittings. That way I know nothing's in a bind and everything's laid where it needs to lay. Now, new O-ring's already on this side over here, and it's already lubricated, so not going to worry about adding more to it. Just line it up and hand tighten this clamp here. I'm sure there was probably another clamp or retainer up here, so I'll probably just get a zip tie or something along those lines and tie this line up around this motor just to keep it out of the way of things, keep it from rubbing on anything. But yeah, fitment of this line set is much nicer. No kinking of the hoses. It'll be out of the way of everything. This bend right here should clear the air filter nice. So I think we'll be good to go. I'm gonna go on and tighten all these fittings up, tighten the bolt up on the compressor, and I'll get you back out here once I'm ready to hook the vacuum pump up. Alrighty, had to make a quick pit stop to go get some 134A adapters. Didn't have any on hand, and I don't know, I assume because my old gauge set's set up for R12 as well. I guess that's what I charged it with last time, but just used 134A refrigerant. But anyways, went and picked those up. Also went and picked up one of the adapters for these newfangled resealable cans. So anyways, got the vacuum pump set up, so I'm gonna kick it on and let it pull this system down for, I'm gonna give it at least a half an hour. But yeah, we'll see if we got any leaks and go from there. Vacuum pump's been running for a good part of probably 45 minutes at this point. So I'm gonna go on up here, I'm gonna turn these valves off and shut the pump off, and we're gonna let it sit for 5-10 minutes and see if those gauges drop. If we start losing vacuum or something like that, we'll know we got a leak and we'll have to track that down. But yeah, we'll go from there. Now we play the waiting game and see if our gauges drop. Alrighty, we are good to go, no leaks. So I'm gonna go on and set us up with our adapter for our resealable cans. Thread that on like so. And thread it on to our standard hose. Now, I'm going to open the low side up there. The low side valve first, and let it draw in the majority of this can. Once it draws in what it will, I'm going to go on and start the engine, kick the AC on, and start refilling it. It'll probably take 2.5 cans, give or take. I'm gonna set it by pressure because there's no weights anywhere to be found, and I don't have a scale anyways. So I'm gonna set it by pressure and go from there. So this one can has pulled down pretty well as far as it's going to. So I'm gonna go and start the truck, see if the compressor will start cycling, and start filling it up that way. I'm shooting for around, because it's around 90 degrees right now, I'm shooting for around 50 PSI on the low side, and somewhere around 250 to 270-ish, I think. I'll have to check my chart on the high side. Should be 2.5 pounds, maybe a little more, somewhere around that for this system, but we'll just see how it goes. I got plenty of refrigerant here, so that's no big deal. But yeah, I'm gonna fire it up and see if we can get it going. bit of a slow process, but I'll get these cans in it, get it cycling right, and I'll be back with you in a minute. So, hopefully you'll be able to hear me. It's kind of loud, obviously. I went on and rechecked the temperature outside. It's about 86 degrees ambient. So, pressure should run between 45 and 55 on the low side, and 225 to 250 on the high side. And here's what we're sitting at right now. We're a touch under 50 on the low, and a touch over 225 on the high. Now, I'll probably add just a touch more, bump those pressures up just a little bit more, and see where we're at. Holding solid now, around 50 psi on the low side, around 240-ish on the high side. We'll go inside and check temperature. Nice and cold coming out of the vents. Everything feels good, so I think we're good to go. Time to get all this stuff cleaned up. Something else to note, now that we're quiet, we got everything shut down. Pressures were great while it's running, putting out good cold air. Once everything is shut down, these gauges will roughly come down and settle around ambient temperature. So it's approximately 85 degrees outside, and the low side is sitting around 85, high side is sitting around 85. So we should be great on our charge, and yeah, so I'm gonna go on and get all this stuff unhooked, get the mess picked up, and we should be good. But I really like how this new hose is routed. It's out of the way of everything. It doesn't come in contact with the air filter. It's not kinked or anything, doing anything weird. So anyways, I'm gonna get all this unhooked, get the new caps put on the service ports, and we should be good. Well, that about wraps it up. Got everything working nice in the flatbed. Got cold AC again, which is beautiful. It did end up taking approximately 2.5 cans. There's a little bit left in this, not much. But yeah. Pressures are great, no leaks, cold AC, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. So, anyways, I think that's gonna cover it for this one. If you've got any questions, comments, drop them in the comment section below. I've got some interesting stuff coming up here soon that has to do with the black diesel stuff. I've been in contact with PA Biodiesel and WVO Designs, and I've got something interesting coming for y'all here real soon. So anyways, with that said, if you haven't already, please subscribe. We appreciate you watching.